it's your girl Minette, aka Miminel, on MIMINEL'S Diary, Realities and Perceptions. And we are back. I want to say welcome to everyone. I want to say Happy New Year. I wish you all a very prosperous year ahead. 2021 has been a great year, but it came with its challenges, and we are hoping that 2022 is going to be the deal breaker for us all. I wish you a very merry, joyous, prosperous, happy new year 2022. And I'm so happy we are relaunching in January. This only means positive vibes only this year. It's January, and I know we have a lot of plans after taking our New Year resolutions. I know we all have a lot of plans. We all have a lot of, you know, things in store that we want to achieve this year. So I'm going to be out here just trying to encourage us throughout this year, trying to make us not give up on our hopes, on our beliefs, on our goals. We can do everything if we make our minds to. We can do and achieve whatever we set our minds to do. So this 2022 is Operation No Giving Up. Oh. I hope we all are ready for what we have in store for us. The slogan of our show has always been realities and perceptions. What I think, what you think, the reality of what is, and the way forward. So, on today's episode of the show, we're literally going to be talking about domestic violence. I chose this topic because it's been something which has been rampant in the society. At this point, it's been happening for over decades, and not only the normal populace out there, but governments and even countries have been struggling to see how they can actually curb this vice. Yeah, so organizations, NGOs, people are putting in work to actually see that domestic violence can be put to an end, if not like completely wiped out. But however, it is very impossible. Why? Because the very first challenge we're ever going to face with domestic violence is because victims do not speak out. Now, it is very understandable. Looking at it from the aspect of a victim, you would understand that there's this aspect of stigmatization that comes to mind. Now, somebody may feel like, all right, if I speak out, I may be mocked, I may be laughed, or maybe people are going to use it against me, which is very typical in every African setting. Like, we all know that Africans have a way of doing things, for everyone who has grown in Africa or in Cameroon in particular, you would know that man no man or talk say na very normal something for pay. It's very normal. It happens to be a very normal phenomenon. Like, you cannot avoid it. Gossiping is part and parcel of us. So people always fear that aspect of being used or being mocked with their issues, and you will find out that a lot of victims would never ever speak out. Now, I want us to understand what domestic violence is. Domestic violence is normally an abuse, or maybe an abuse from an intimate partner. It could be your intimate partner, it could be your family member, your relative. And domestic violence is not only sexual, like most people think, because most people think that, okay, you say you want to go through domestic violence, it probably means the person has been raped, or the person has been sexually molested. No, it's not all about that. Domestic violence can still be emotional, it can still be physical torture. You understand? Like, somebody can rain abuses on you, and that would traumatize your being. I know of people who have built strong inferiority complex because probably they didn't get the right appreciation from their spouses or from their families. They over the years, they built that lack of self-worth. That is violence. That is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not all about punching, biting, beating. It's not all about the physical violence. It's not all about the sexual violence. There is emotional violence. Of course, there's psychological, because after that, like, imagine raining these beatings on someone. Imagine raining insults on someone. And sometimes, some people will be like, oh, you're not too good enough. Oh, look at you. And look, you know if you ever be better man for your life. And things like that. Things like that. They affect a person's psychology. You begin to see that the person becomes inferior when he or she is amongst a crowd. They talk less. They try to keep to themselves because they feel like they are not good enough. They have lost their self-worth. It is still domestic violence. And again, I want us to wipe this mentality that domestic violence, the women are always the victims. No. There are men who are victims of domestic violence. There are men who are being beaten by their wives. There are men who are being tortured by their wives, not only in the physical. There are men who are going through emotional and psychological trauma in their homes. But who would they run to? Of course, the man has always been the stronger one. Who are they going to run to? Who are they going to talk to? So it's high time we try as much as we can to understand this concept of domestic violence and try to work on certain things. So all I'm trying to say is that people think of domestic violence in a very shallow manner, which should not be the case. For example, let's take the perceptions people have about domestic violence. Somebody will say that domestic violence is all about the physical and the sexual abuse. To many people, if you ask just a random person out there, what do you think is domestic violence? The first thing he will tell you is maybe if a partner is beating another partner. They're just looking at the physical aspect. Stalking is an aspect of domestic violence. You cannot be stalking someone. Suppression, intimidation, oppression, those are domestic violence acts. They are forms of domestic violence. So many people would only just concentrate on the sexual and the physical part. Another set of people will always say the woman is always the victim of domestic violence. Another set of people will always say most victims intentionally do not speak out. Others will be like, okay, what a man can do, and the woman can do better, even better, as they put it. That particular phrase has caused a lot of problems. I know women who have lost their lives because you're in unnecessary competition with a man. They didn't give you the right to overshadow the man. By nature, a man has more strength than a woman. One man feel hold two women for down, presser. I'm telling you. You get. So women are taking this phenomenon, the aspect of feminism is being looked at very differently. And it's causing a lot of problems in their homes. You find many homes, the woman wants to dominate, she wants to overshadow the man. Every man wants respect. Every man, no matter how small, he wants respect. If you cannot give him that in his house, not that house will not have peace. And at the end of the day, since we women are always very mouthy and nagging, you might just provoke this man to unleash the beast in him. Soon you hear this man has beaten his wife. Soon you hear she's at the hospital. And of course, we are very good at playing the victim. No, I'm not criticizing women out there. But I'm trying to bring this to our notice. That in as much as we are being given powers to do certain things, we should not abuse them. We should not abuse them. The reality of things is that domestic violence is not only sexual. Just by mere words. A child growing up in a home where there is no love amongst the parents, he grows with that psychological thought or that psychological impact in him, like, okay, violence is the only way to settle things. It is the reality. A child who has grown up in a violent home will believe that violence is the only way to settle disputes in a relationship. And that is why you find that even in relationships, maybe during dating, courtship, you would find guys who intentionally beat their spouse. To some people, they will be like, oh, if your partner not beat you, no love you, no, my dear. That's a very wrong mentality to adopt. And they will be like, no, if the man not beat me, that means say, he's not a man. Don't push a man to beat you. What if you die in the process? What happens to your life? What happens to your dreams? What happens to your career? What happens to your goals? There are a lot of people out there who are suffering with this mentality. Violence is not the only way out. Violence has never even been the only way out. What happened to dialogue? And most times when these things even happen and people are saying the victims intentionally do not speak out, it is not easy, first of all, to actually explain or express how you feel after being tortured. It is not easy. And because we have a lot of trust issues now, you don't even know who is that friend that you can actually confide in, that will hold your secrets that dear. Now, even the NGOs we have around, I believe it's just an advice. Someone should reach out to them. It's high time you put in place these hotlines, which is easier for people to reach you and try to even explain themselves and keep their identities hidden. Because a lot of people will not do it out of the blues. It's time we send out hotlines. Maybe create hotlines where somebody can just reach you. Even a neighbor can reach out and like, this person is actually going through this thing right now, and this is the situation. Please send in help. But the African society is growing in a way that even neighbors are becoming unconcerned about their neighbors. Even neighbors are becoming unconcerned. Everybody is now minding their business in one way, which is good in another way, but we have to be one another's keeper. And the mentality that women are the only ones who are being molested or who are the only victims of domestic violence is very wrong. Very, very wrong. Men naturally will not speak out like that. But of course, they too are going through their own shit. That is why the study of gender-based violence comes in. It's really broad. And I would not like for us to go into all of that. I'm really pleading that we try to take out the mindset we have that women are the only ones who are being victimized when it comes to domestic violence. And the ideology people have that, why don't they speak out? I mean, it's easy. If I were in her shoes, I will speak out, or pack my things and leave. The victims are actually suffering with, how do I call it, the victimized mindset. Yes. Sometimes they will feel guilt and they will be like, oh, this is my fault that this thing happened. In severe cases, most of them or most women will feel like, it's my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have said this, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. I mean, in extreme cases, where maybe a man is naturally an abuser, most victims take upon themselves to accept the blame for whatever comes after that. So sometimes it may not be an issue of opening up. Sometimes they feel they are guilty or they share in the blame, and that's why they will not speak up. Sometimes it's not as easy as that. And just like somebody would advise, like, yes, it's been normal. I mean, if the torture is getting too much, you should leave the house. In the case of a marriage or in a cohabitation, whatever case it may be, pack your things and leave the marriage, because your life matters the most. But of course, we know that most victims, especially if there were children involved in that relationship, they would never leave for the sake of the children. There are some people who intentionally stay back because they want to give their children that sense of belonging. Maybe they are thinking now on the path of the children that will be like, oh, look at the stigmatization that will come. Maybe these children will be mocked at. Maybe they'll be laughed at in school, and they'll be like, no, it's best I just stay back in my home and just take whatever I'm getting from my partner for the sake of the children. So this aspect of not speaking out, it comes in different phases. You never can tell. Every victim has his or her own unique reason for not speaking out. This is where I employ the NGOs to come in. I'm really pleading on them to double the efforts at which they are going. A lot of NGOs out here in Cameroon who are more interested in the girl child and the woman. A lot. I'm really pleading that they do extra work to get these women to talk. Of course, empowering the woman will be one way of actually giving her that power. Maybe the financial empowerment to be able to do maybe a business or a craft or a trade to get herself to be able to provide for her family, her children, in the case where the man is not providing. But sometimes a follow-up is needed, because these men can still dominate these women and collect the capital or even collect the profit. Now, I'm not saying all men are like that. There are men who are extreme. There are cases out there. People are suffering out there. There are cases, severe cases of domestic violence out there. So domestic violence takes a wide range of forms. So after trying to point out these perceptions that people have, the reality of it will always be that domestic violence cannot be avoided in every society. It cannot. Because even in the suburbs, in the rural areas, even in the cities, in the urban towns, people will go through them but will never speak out for various reasons. They have different reasons. We never can tell. It's not all about maybe the aspect of the shame or being stigmatized. No, it might not. It might still be an aspect of threats from the part of the victimizer. It might still be maybe out of concern for the children. So they have various, there's a lot of reality on ground that people are taking into consideration, especially women. Now, I understand that because of that, the focus has always been on the woman, and why most people will think that the women are the victims of domestic violence. It is because women play a greater role. Apart of being the majority in every society, like in the society where we are, we live in a patriarchal society where the man has always been given domination over the woman. It is until recently that women have started holding political positions in our country. So I understand why the focus has to be more on the woman, and partly because the woman holds that role of childbearing, of nurturing, and of building a home. Because if a marriage crumbles, the very first person the society is going to blame is the woman for not being able to keep her man, or for not being able to keep her home together. So I can understand where that ideology is coming from, that the woman is the main victim of domestic violence. But there are still men out there who are going through worse situations. There are men out there who are also victimized by their wives, their spouses, and even relatives. So it's not only the woman who is a victim of domestic violence. And this ideology of what a man can do, a woman can do better. Yes, a woman can do better, because a woman can multitask. A man might not. But it doesn't mean that the woman has been given the room to disrespect her husband. It doesn't mean that the woman has been given that go ahead or that say to actually dominate in the house. No. A lot of times we women fall into that temptation, thinking that, oh, I'm better than the man, or I can do amigo. Yes, he will leave. But at the end of the day, you will play the victim. Oh, my husband has left me with 5 children. Oh, this and that and this and that. No home is perfect. No man is perfect either. But violence has never been a solution to issues or problems in every home. Violence has never resolved anything. It has only succeeded to destroy the little affection or love that is in that home, or unity or harmony that is in that home. So you shouldn't be dragging shoulders with your husband. You shouldn't be on top of him, even if you are financially viable than your husband. Even if. Yes, it is true that some men will naturally want to cheat, or some men will naturally just annoy you. But as a woman, before accepting to marry a man, you ought to have known him during courtship. You ought to have known and accepted his flaws to be able to stay in that home. It's not a go-ahead for a man to use violence on the woman. It is not. It is not a go-ahead. And if it persists, of course, they will advise you to leave the home, which is good. Give him some time. Maybe when in your absence, he might now get to see your importance. It is true, most people will say that you might know the value of what you have when you have lost it. So sometimes take a break. If it is too severe, you can cry out. There is no harm in crying out. It's better you speak out than to die in silence. At the end of the day, if you die, the man will replace you. What happens to your children? It is no news. It is no news that other women have not been taking good care of other people's children. It is very few. Very few women can actually take care of their husbands' children with other women. We all know stories, we've been hearing stories. So I want to plead with us all that we should try to sensitize ourselves about this issue of domestic violence. We should try to understand certain things and try to, when we see victims, we should apply empathy and not mockery. We shouldn't stigmatize these people. They are going through a lot. So I want to plead, I'm really pleading that we put in our best to ensure that our society is better and a lot of these vices can be curbed. If not completely, at least let it be reduced. Let the situations not be rampant. Let us not have a lot of cases of people who have died due to domestic violence. It is disheartening. I want to say thank you if you've been watching up to this point. Thank you so much for your commitment. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your devotedness. May God bless you for me. And if you're just joining in, you haven't missed a thing. You can always watch our videos. You can always visit our page at MIMINEL'S Diary Realities and Perceptions on YouTube and on Facebook to catch up with our videos. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video. Comment your views in the comment section. Let me know what you think on the topic, and let me know if you have any other topic you would want us to discuss. Thank you all so much, and I wish you all a great day. Until next time, I remain your girl, Minette, aka Miminel, on MIMINEL'S Diary, Realities and Perceptions. What I think, what you think, the reality of what is, and the way forward.